Hello, so in this video I'll explain what is a hypervisor. So a hypervisor is a software layer that allows multiple VMs, each with its own operating system, to run on the same physical hardware. So if you don't know what is VM, how does it work, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of VMs, you can check out the last video of mine. So yeah, let's go to the topic. Why is hypervisor needed? So without hypervisor, only one physical machine would be there, only one OS would be there, and one workload would be there. Hardware is wasted in that, and no isolation is there. So what hypervisor solves? A hypervisor splits CPU, memory, and disk. It runs multiple operating systems at the same time. It keeps the VMs isolated. It prevents one VM from affecting others. So hypervisor makes the virtualization possible. Without it, VM does cannot work. So think of it as a hypervisor is like a building manager who divides one building into many independent apartments. So consider independent apartments as a VM. So where is a hypervisor used? First is it is mainly used in cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, and GCP. Every EC2 and VM runs on a hypervisor. We can't see it, but cloud provider manages it. Second use is in data centers on prem, where it is used in VMware, private cloud, enterprise virtualization. And third is developer machine for testing like a VirtualBox and VMware workstations. Though, so the next topic is types of hypervisor. You must know it. So the first one is Type 1 is bare metal, which is used in production. So if we see it in its hardware, there is only hypervisor and virtual machine. No host operating system is there. It is faster and secure, used in cloud and data centers, for example ESXi, KVM, Hyper-V. And the second type is hosted, which is used in our laptops and computers. So in its hardware there is hypervisor and virtual machine, same as Type 1. There is host operating system also. So it runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. It is quite slower as it has host operating system which can handle the GUI and shell tasks and other tasks. It is used for dev and testing. The examples are VirtualBox and VMware Workstation. So, how does a hypervisor work? At a high level, it talks directly to the hardware. It allocates CPU and RAM to each VM. It schedules VM execution, and it blocks VMs from accessing each other. Each VM thinks it as its own. It owns the hardware. So, main difference and very common confusion we can have is for hypervisor versus OS. So OS runs application and hypervisor runs VMs. OS is only one OS. Hypervisor can handle many operating systems, which are virtual machines, and OS is user facing, whereas hypervisor is infrastructure layer. So hypervisor does not replace OS, it enables the multiple OS. And lastly, what happens if the hypervisor crashes? All the VMs on the host goes down. So to summarize, a hypervisor is a software layer that enables multiple virtual machines, each with its own operating system, to run on a single physical server. It is needed to efficiently share the hardware resources while maintaining isolation between them and between the VMs. So hypervisors are widely used in cloud platforms, enterprise data centers, and even on the developer machines. In cloud environment, the hypervisor is managed by the provider and it is not visible to the users. So why can't we create VMs without a hypervisor? That is a question. So we can't create a virtual machine without a hypervisor because the hypervisor is responsible for isolating VMs and managing access to the hardware. Without it, VMs would interfere with each other and there would be no proper resource control or isolation. So without a hypervisor, what are the disadvantages? No control over a CPU usage. One OS could read another OS's memory, disk, and network conflicts. No security boundary. It becomes a big unsafe OS, not multiple machines. So hypervisor is for isolation, control, and illusion of the separate machines. Okay. So next is, what exactly does the hypervisor isolate? So we can say it isolates the CPU scheduling, memory space, disk access, network access. So consider the analogy. So physical server is like a raw power, hypervisor is like a traffic controller, VM is fake but it is a isolated machine. So a physical server may or may not have a hypervisor. If server is used to host virtual machines, a hypervisor runs directly on hardware. If the server is used as a bare metal for performance critical workloads, no hypervisor is used and the operating system runs directly on the hardware. So when is VM needed? Hypervisor is required, but for bare metal needs, the hypervisor is not required. So let's summarize the hypervisor. It is a software layer that enables multiple VMs on one physical server. Why is it used? It's used for isolation, resource sharing, and security. And where is it used? It is used in cloud platforms, enterprise data centers, and developer machines. And when not, it is not used. It is not used for bare metal workloads, low latency performance, and hardware specific needs. So the difference between type 1 and type 2 hypervisor are that the type 1 runs on hardware and type 2 runs on host OS. The GUI in type 1 is minimal and done, that is why its performance is high and it is faster, whereas here in type 2 it uses the host OS, that is why it is quite slower and performance decreases. So that is the performance difference, high and low. Security is strong and here it is weaker as host OS is used, which can be accessed easily. Here it is used for cloud and production environment. This is used for dev and laptop. Suppose we want to test something on our laptop, we can install VMware, which is a type 2, which uses the host operating system. And why this two exists? So it exists for scale and isolation, and type 2 exists for a convenience. So to summarize, a type 1 hypervisor runs directly on a hardware and acts as a lightweight operating system without a traditional GUI or shell, which improves the performance and security. And type 2 hypervisor runs on the top of the host OS and are mainly used for developer machine for testing and learning because they are easy to install and safe, even though they introduce additional overhead. Yeah. So suppose if we install type 1 on our laptop, then it does not use the host operating system and it acts like a OS. So we don't have the personal space, everything is compromised, and it uses CPU, memory, everything, so it is not in our control. That is why type 2 exists. So thank you, and if you like the video, please do like and subscribe.